Well, greetings everyone. Today we have Luis and Tashiro, the co-founders of Mad Mimic Interactive, which is based in Brazil, and creators of No Heroes here. Their game is doing excellently well on Steam. I heard 91% more than positive reviews, very positive reviews.
Yes.
Yeah, and they have been reviewed by very famous YouTube gaming channels, earning over 250,000 views on Stump TV over a single video. That's actually huge. And soon they will be releasing their game into Japanese and Asian market, I heard of.
Yeah, and for consoles as well.
Yeah, awesome. So today they are here to share their golden nugget of information upon how did they manage to get up to the point they are already and what it really takes to be an independent game developer. So welcome.
Thank you very much.
My first question would be to you is why anyone from us, especially a student like us in Vancouver Film School, who wants to go into indie would actually fail, and what that person can do to ensure success? That is my first question.
Um, I think the first thing I would say about like wanting to go indie is like why do you want to go indie? Um, at least for me, like being indie is not like a dream. For me, being indie is like just a situation I'm in right now. I think that like indie dream there was like a few years ago, like oh going solo in a project, make everything by yourself. Like I think it's getting way harder now with the amount of games releasing and people starting to be more um, severe with like indie games. Um, so answering like a little bit what you're saying, like okay, but like if you go indie, you have no options. Like we went to Brazil and we don't have publishers, we have a small amount of investment. I think the first thing people need to realize, in my opinion, is being indie doesn't mean you don't have to follow like the basic concepts of developing. So one of the things we made was like, okay, we are going to grab all the knowledge we got here, and it's way more focused for AAA development, and follow those. Like, it's not because you're indie you don't have to like follow milestones. It's not
Yeah.
because you're indie that you don't have to follow the process. So I think and it's not because you're indie you don't have to think about like market. It's not like freedom doesn't mean you don't have to do the right things.
Mm-hmm. So, I mean, just for the boiling down to the very practical steps, like what are the first five practical steps a student like me and Vancouver Film School can actually take in order to start an indie game studio?
I don't know, like if I have five answers for that. Like the first one would be like find an investor. Like, do you have?
I guess we can start. First of all, create a business plan. If you wanna really open a company or just publish a game by yourself, you need to take a decision. If you wanna publish your game by yourself, okay, you start, as Luis told you. But if you wanna open a company, start your own business, create a business plan, know your targets, know your platform you're gonna work, and after this, show for some investors or angel investments and try to find this capital to give you baby steps for your company. And after this, maybe you start your productions, but uh, you need to, how can I say it, have a prototype to show it. So you need to be able to carry some risk still. I guess this is the first step, first and second step.
Yeah, like it's hard to say like the amount of steps, but I would definitely say arrange a good team. And
Okay.
for like student indie, like where you just graduate and it's hard, so you need to know your limitation. So um, when we I went back to Brazil, like we started more than one project and we have to cut it down because we were way ahead of us. Like we didn't have the experience and knowledge like to make those games. So we had like to tune it down and like go safer because it's everything's about experience
Yeah.
and release games. Like if you don't release a game, you are screwed. Like
Mm-hmm.
right now, like before No Heroes here, we were no one. Now,
Mm-hmm.
now we at least have like a project. So like if you're going to assemble a better team. Like people know us. If we want to go to an investor, people know we have a portfolio. So like you have to release games.
Okay. Um, Very cool. Nicely put. And the first thing you just said that have a team, right?
Yeah.
The team is the core pillar of starting an independent studio. Totally love that. So, what is the what were your considerations when you were building your team, and what advice would you give to an 80 idle student who wants to build a team for its own independent game studio?
In the beginning, we focused a lot like in Brazilian universities. We didn't just do games, so what we would do is like we had simple projects. We would bring interns and like make them grow with those smaller projects
Okay.
while we grow as a company. And after VFS, one of the things I made, I straightly hired two, I think it was three in a row from VFS as well, because I already knew like what they would think, and I already knew like if they were good or not, and the instructors helped us a lot, like knowing which person is worth it bring on. So they were more prepared from the beginning. So like, and I don't know, try to grow with them.
So, okay. Yeah, totally. And all right, having a team, I would rather say, is the half done, right? That's what I would suggest.
It's only the start.
Okay. And the another most important thing is the money. Is where does the money come from? Like we say that whenever you start a small business, the FFF round, friends, family, fool round.
Yep.
So,
That
so
is pain.
yeah, I think that's the first major ever step that none of the investor is gonna hand out to you anything before you even have a portfolio. So it's already kind of like a paradoxical cycle. They look for a portfolio, but to build a portfolio, we need money. So, how was the FFF round went, and what were the steps which you took? That how did you manage to pull out the first initial fund for your as a company in order to develop your project?
Uh, Sorry. Uh, well, we started our company with not making our own games. We started our company making advert games, educational games, and finally, after 2 or 3 years, three years, we have some budgets to okay now we can start our own game, but it's a long trajectory we need to wait. But nowadays, Brazil help us with some contests, and now they will give some investments, small investment, to you start your own project.
Okay.
And I hope if you wanna work your own game, you have some ways. Try to gather the team and start by yourself with family and
Okay.
friends and
Yeah.
fools, as you said.
Yeah.
But the other way is try to start a game jams and get your prototype and present in like in small contests. Our trajectory, we basically start to make some projects outsourced for other companies and arise some fundings.
Okay.
But it's really important that for this whole process to do something that is to get yourself known. So, for example, like that's one of the reasons I'm always coming back to VFS. Like, I was talking with some friends, like, oh, the guys from GD50. I'm like, how do you know them? I was like, yeah, because I just
Yeah.
go to school whenever I can, and like I talk to people. People know me. Like, there's a bunch of Brazilian them. Like, I try to know what they want to do. I try to know like I talk to instructors. I do, and like if one of them is going back to Brazil and want to hire someone, like, oh, okay, so that person is coming. Like, do we have the budget? So I get in touch or not? So, like maybe we have other projects to make, and I already know people in Brazil that was the alumni. So like, if I need a game designer, I already had know like two people to call
Yeah.
right away, and so like getting know people, it's really important for this whole process. Like it's something that goes together.
Yeah, totally. I totally agree with the fact that only that is sellable which is visible, right? So if nobody knows about you, so how will anybody will get in touch with you? That's the first thing. So I think what you're talking about is pretty much the networking portion
Yep.
of starting their own independent game business. That I would also say that can you also explain that what other sources of like the tangible sources where anyone can start networking, and how they can actually progress further?
Go to events, like talk to people, go to events. Like here in Vancouver, you have Full Indie. Go to all Full Indies. The VFS has First Friday. Go to all First Fridays. Um, go to everywhere. Like,
Yeah, okay.
of course, like going to GDC, it's expensive, but like if you can go, you go. Like in Brazil, like there's events. We when we hired 2 interns, we basically one of the process we analyzed, it was like they were in all events we went. So like, okay, those guys are serious. So
Yeah.
like you need to go to events, you need to go to anything, so people will know you.
Yeah, and there's one more major question as a kind of follow-up of networking, that whenever anybody like us as a student goes into such events, they ask that how do we tell ourselves that did you just only represent yourself as a student or as a company already, that hey, this is our project, this is what we want to do, and would you be willing to join us? How
If
did you market yourself? That's what I'm asking.
if you're a student, you're a student. If you're a company, you're a company. Like you don't lie. You just say like, oh yeah, I'm a
Okay.
student. I study at VFS or anywhere else. Like
Mm-hmm.
you just. But if you don't have the guts to go to the person and talk to them, they will never know what you want. What are you?
Yeah. So I think the way you're saying is it pretty much deals with how does the mindset of any independent game developer works, right? So I mean, people who focus on the pitching and people who focusing on the business side of the games as well, only those guys actually tend to do. I mean, though, removing their reluctancy of not talking to people. And how does this stuff adds up into you, and how much would you really focus? And somebody who has the reluctancy of going somewhere and not being able to talk to the specific people. So how do you, would you suggest anyone to do it or tackle that situation?
Like, I, it's harder because like for me, it's easy to just talk. Like that's my probably my best craft. I don't know. Like it's scary. It's scary to expose yourself.
Yeah.
It's like it's the same thing like with launching a game and stuff. But like basically, there's no magic if you don't talk. People will not know what you're thinking or
Yeah.
who are you and stuff. So like you don't need to be like creepy or so like you find friends, you find people
Yeah.
that might help you. If you like if you're in an event, you have a friend that know other people, like talk to him or her, like oh, can you present me someone? Or if you know someone specific that want to talk about, like try to engage. Like
Mm-hmm.
I don't know, you have to try.
Okay. And what do you recommend some study material or material to watch, or which could be from GDC Vault or such as books which an independent game developer should read before or prior starting their own business?
I don't know anything in mind. I don't have anything in mind.
Uh, let me
Me, I can also re-articulate the question in such a way that that I also get bombarded with a lot that someone who's coming from the game developer side and they have their excellence in either being an artist or a programmer or designer, they lack that business value, the business acumen. So how do you actually manage to find a co-founder who excels in the business of games, or how do you become the one who actually knows a little bit business of the games in order to get started? Do you really find that this is actually essential in order to get started?
Hmm. I got it. Let me see if I understand your question. Is if someone has some role, a specific role like a artist, sound, or programming, and but don't know how to raise money.
Yeah.
Um, I guess you need to find. You usually you have some friend, have some social skills,
Yeah.
and talk with him, and try to okay, could you help me? And now, how can you work together to raise some fundings? Like for example, us, he talk a lot, and I'm more quiet.
Yeah.
But when we need to go to the meeting together, usually we have some synergy to work together. For example, he presents the projects, the other things about the production things, and usually the financial things I take care about this role and the strategy of the company. And you need to find someone knows the way to how can I say it, talk with the banking or investor and the other things. But I guess, yeah, this is just it.
Okay.
Yeah, basically you have like like you find an artist, you like that person studied arts. If you want a game designer, you're going to after someone that like studied game design, and if you want to go business, you have to find someone that like studied business, and that's why basically what we did. Like he have masters in business. I'm specialized in game development, so that's
Okay.
why like
That's the
yeah,
unique
that's a
combination.
synergy.
Yeah, that's the unique combination you required in order to set up everything. Totally well put in. And my final question before starting a little bit of interactive QA would be, is where do you guys see yourself going into the future? Because you guys were here already play testing your next prototype, right? So
Yes.
that's where do you guys see yourself going into the future? Probably 2 or 3 years.
I still see ourselves like as in the studio, but hopefully being able to rely on our own products. We'll be probably in 3 years, probably like in our fourth project.
Okay.
So by that time, like if we cannot live with the product we make without like needing like urgently investments and stuff, that will be a problem. So like our main focus is to not necessarily need like external investment, so being able to like live with our own products.
Hmm. Awesome. And would you like to conclude or anything add special before we start taking questions?
It's a hard question. Try to figure out us in 3 or 4 years because our culture are changed all the time, and we start to our own business in the hardest country. For example, Brazil
Yeah.
is we have a lot of problem there of high tax and the other things. Um, I guess I hope we can open some branches in the other countries to start to find other ways to easy to raise some funding. As I said, I just thinking how we can raise the money, and he just thinking the project.
Okay.
So and this way, I had some strategies to okay if we had this amount, we can open another branch in another country, and we can save some money according to the financial strategy. And we hope, as he said, we will release our fourth game, fourth title, and start to working on other titles in parallel too, and grow our team and our company and be a successful company.
All right. Awesome. Kudos to you guys. And if anybody has like questions, we will take questions. Starting with Joakim.
I wanted to know how did you guys manage the risk?
So the question was, how do we manage the risks of being indie, and how do we talk with investors about like, those risks? So managing risks is really tough actually. Like we normally what we do is we calculate our budget, like how much this company costs and how long do we have with the budget and investments we got, and where and like mid-term goals. Like okay, so like until that point we need like a project, we will need a investment and stuff. And we also, while we do that, we start to go like after more investments. So in Brazil, there's some contests that you can like gain investment for the specific projects or for the company. And then like once we reach this midterm goal, we're like, okay, so from now on, like what should we do? Like should we continue with the way we are? Can we spend more money? Do we have like to make some cuts and stuff like that? And for investors, I think Tashiro is better to talk about that.
Well, basically, as I said in the beginning of the presentation, we need to be just a second, business plan, and try to know your risks and the return of the investment, because investor loves to know the return of their investment. So if you show some numbers, okay, if you put 1 million in my company, how long I will when I will return for you this money, and how will the tax I will return. So basically, this information you need to know, and you need to know more or less some numbers. Okay, if I want to start a business in mobile or PC or console or three platforms, you want to know, okay, if I start in this business, how is the size of my business, and how can I get this how can I get this amount of money, and if I invest, for example, 1 million, I will receive this in 1 year, 2 millions, or 3 times, 4 times, I don't know. You need to know this information when you talk with them.
So the question was, how did we identify the target market for No Heroes here? We never actually identified it. Like we tried to be to reach as much people as we could. Like we never actually had a strong study about like, oh, those are the people we want. They're going to play our game. The way we did, we basically was like, okay, so we have these games that there are our main references, and like we might compete in the market, and we're like, okay, do they have a big chunk of the market or not? And like, let's rely on those type of information.
I guess we just to complete the last question. In No Heroes, we had some information like SWOT analysis, sales forecast, and the other market and business information, because we received a little investment to start the project too.
So the question was like the key indicators to build a sales forecast. The one we did for No Heroes was basically looking at our competitors and try to figuring out like, okay, so why did it get successful, and like how we are going to compete, and like what would make us better than them or like worse than them, and thinking about things that like, okay, we don't have marketing experiences, or like how that would hurt us, and try to put as much as parameters as we can so we can reach a specific number. So the question is about Brazilian governmental incentives, and like how do you participate, and like what are the key elements to win those. So like participating is like submission as any other type of contest, but you have some specifications, like there's a lot of like legal things that you need to care about, like you actually need to be a company. There's some for like individual developers and like different categories, but for Windows, there are two things that you need to have. One is previous success, and like because the government is thinking as an investor, so how much risk do I'm going to get? So like if you have a company that like has been in the market for 10 years and like had good games, good hits, and a new company, probably they will try to invest in the more successful one. But at the other hand, one of the most important things is having a good project. Like when we got one of the investments for No Heroes here, like we were unknown, so the project matters a lot. So the question is like about scopes of projects, comparing the scope of No Heroes here and our new prototype and like future project. So the scope for No Heroes here, we actually were really conservative. So we ended up like almost doubling it. So the first time we presented the game, we had like 30 levels. Now we have 54 levels, and we had only local multiplayer. Now we have online multiplayer. And that was kind of a mistake to expanding that much the scope. And this mostly because of the levels. Having more levels doesn't mean the game is better. Actually, just means the game is longer. And for couch co-op, that's not a good thing. But this means that we learned a lot. and we clearly can see the difference between like the team before No Heroes Here and after No Heroes Here. And we could see that mostly because of a game jam we made. We made one game jam like 2 months before we started the production of No Heroes Here, and one game jam 1 month after the release of the game. And it's incredible to see like how the whole team, like everybody, got way much better, and like the quality of the game jam was really inspiring for us. So for this new project, I can't say much about the scope because we are still validating the idea. But one of the things we are going to see is actually like how much we can measure this growth, and how we can put it in practice. So one of the things I like to do when like I organize a project is to see how it's work on its scalability. So like make a good a solid design, and have like, okay, if you're doing well, this is the amount of stuff that we can reach. If you're doing poorly, this is the amount of stuff we need to reach. And this MVP, for example, needs to be good enough to have like a good project. So probably I will like, because the game is way more like it's way harder than No Heroes Here as a project. We will work a lot with the scalability thing. But did I answer your question? Okay, so the question was, how do I work with audio in my company, and like do I do internally, or if I have outsourcing, and if I do use middleware? Yeah, so I outsourced it. I outsourced it with the sound designer that was on my final project, and mostly because that guy is really awesome and he has really good work ethics. Like nothing better to work with someone from another country that no matter which time you send him a message, he will answer like in 3 minutes. So it's really crazy. And one of the things we wanted to do is we use WIs because it's a really, really, really powerful middleware. And even though like one could argue that look, it's way above like a project like No Heroes Here, I really think it's important like to keep using those tools that we learned here and like the AAA market uses, because this gives a lot of credibility for the team, and this gives a lot of experience for the team. So like, I don't know if you're going to outsource project for like a AAA company, we know how to use their tools and stuff like that. So, and one of the cool things about like WIs is last GDC, we went to Audio Kinetic booth, and I ended up like becoming friend of one of the guys from Audio Kinetic, and they gave us like a special indie offer. So we were able to like increase the amount of like free assets to have. So the guy was even like sending me a message like, oh, let's meet at GDC again. So like it was pretty cool to have this network with Wise. So the question is, how did we market the game, and how like our sales is more focused on Brazil, or like it achieved a global effect? So I will talk first about the sales, and Tashiro can talk about marketing. No, it was pretty cool to see that because we went to a lot of events, we were able to achieve the whole world actually. Like if you see our top selling countries, the first is Brazil, the second one is America, the third one is South Korea, and the fourth one is Germany. So like, yeah, and they are kind of like close to each other. It's not like, oh, there's a huge disparity. So it was pretty cool, like how the game naturally went to like the whole parts of the globe. So about the marketing, I will give it to Shiro.
Yeah. Let me remember. We start to plan our market plan in our pre-production, because we need to show for receive the first investment, and we create a roadmap for the project. So when we start, we mapping the main events in Brazil. After this, we try to imagine, okay, now we have these events in Brazil, and now what international events we wanna participate. So we put GDC, PAX, GDC, PAX, Gamescom, Tokyo Game Show, and other one. So when we start, we when we start, let me rename. Just a second, I need to refresh my memory. It's 1 year ago. Let me see, GDC. So after we make this map, we went to GDC, press the game, mainly Game Connection America, to try to find some publishers. And we received our first award, is a game developer, what's the name of the award? The Game Developer Awards. Well, this starts our, how can I say, market plan, because we start to gathering some visibility, because we went the first Brazilian company to receive an international award like this. And after this, we start to participate in the other contests. And fortunately, we received a lot of awards and nominations, I guess more than 10. And we start to contract some PRs, Brazilian PR and American PR. We try to create a plan with them. Like, okay, we want to try to stay in these magazines or sites with good reviews, and we try to talk to them. Okay, you can help me to make some appointments in the events, like when it was in the PAX. Okay, could you make some appointment for us? And in Brazil, the same, in BGS, the same thing. And Tokyo Game Show, we have a partner in Asia, a publisher. So our publisher sent us to Tokyo Game Show and represent us in this, and we receive a great visibility there. So I guess the important things, we need to have some strategic partners. In this way, we'll have a successful, but don't think in just Brazil or just in a local place. Try to think, okay, I need to have a partner in Brazil, in North America, Europe, and Asia. Try to have the key partners in these places, the strategic place. You wanna gather hook your market.
All right. Awesome. So we're gonna wrap up in here, and thanks for Luis and Chikaro to sorry, Toshiro, to come over here and really sharing your golden nugget of information, what you really learn upon your journey. And do check out their game No Heroes here. The game has won 5 different awards, including at PAX, and 5 different nominations. So that's a pretty big deal. And that should wind up. And thank you so much for all to coming over here, and thank you so much for your time.